God's man.
The one mix on the beat.
I wanna be. I'm trying to be. Duval County. I was known for wildin', never known for styling. With that chrome, I'm spazzing out. On my buck for nothing, on the block I'm buzzing. How could God forgive a clown? Like killer bees, I'm buzzing. Hennessy, I'm struggling. Ain't no way to drink this high. How could God forgive me now? Could he ever use a clown?
I really wanna be God's man. I really wanna see God's plan. I know it's more for me. Lord knows, let me be everything.
All right, y'all.
Hey. I keep on trying. I don't wanna lie, Lord. I don't wanna let you down.
While some of you are coming in, I need you to do me a favor, and I need you to tag. I need you to tag some men. Tag married men, tag single men, tag them. Tag them into your comment section.
I'm running.
All right.
Turn up, still humming.
Les, what's going on?
What's funny?
Tag the deacons for me.
We playing roles in reversal. Can't blame it on the women, that's so pitiful. And I ain't shooting at your boys on subliminals. All black in the bushes, I was criminal apostle.
I really wanna be.
Kimberly Robinson.
I really wanna see.
Instagram, we got Ebony over here. I need you to tag. You ladies, do me a favor. Tag some of those men, nephews, uncles. Tag some of those single married men. Tag them in there. There's my beautiful wife, Jamila. Come on, there goes Sean. Tag them in there. I want to make sure I want to get a few of you on here. Of course, listen, it's been one of those days. If you put purpose into play, if you plan anything, I guarantee you, if you plan something and if it means something, I tell you, the enemy gonna always, and sometimes it's just not the enemy, sometimes it's just the circumstances of life that shows up. So I won't call it the enemy, but this was one of them days, 14 hours less, 14 hours. Yeah, we had to get it today. So, but I wanted to make sure that I jumped on here anyway. I wanted to make sure that we had this conversation. I want to see some of these men jumping on here. I want to see some of the guys jumping on here before I move forward. Ladies, do me a favor. Put some of those brothers' name in the inbox. Put your husband name in there. Put your fiance name. Put them in the inbox. Tag them and let them know. Let them know that Apostle Fred is on Godsmanondeck. Let them know that I'm on. Interesting. I think it's an interesting subject. Zach, what's going on? There goes Zach, one of the deacons for the church. Deacon Zach, Deacon Les from the church. I want you to tag some of those guys, tag some of those men. Let them know that we are on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe this is going to be a good one. I believe this is going to be a good one. Yeah, I believe it's going to be a little. And just because of the subject. There go Jamal. Jamal, how you doing? Yeah. I had some other things planned for you guys, but while you guys are still coming in, I want you guys to look out for our King's Council breakfast that we're having at Golden Corral on Concord. We have it every fourth Saturday. And you men are invited. Of course, we will be putting the flyer up. I thank God for all the men that are in the ministry, but we want to stretch, we want to grow, and we want to invite you to come and have some conversation with us. And I hear so much, and sometimes we're trying to have these conversations with people that really can't give us an impartation, and we need to have that. And so tonight, I'm gonna go ahead on. I want to apologize because I wanted to start at 7:00, but circumstances of life will always come to test you and see if you really have the fortitude to do what you say you're going to do. All right. This is Apostle Fred Good and God's Man on Deck. I thank God for you all. Thank God for you all that are coming in right now, and do me a favor. I want you to click tag, and I want you to share this with somebody. Share this on your page, because it's gonna be interesting. I believe it's really gonna be interesting, especially for single men and married men. All right. And I want to get to something, and before I even go into it, I want to get into it. And I put the flyer out there, and I know some of you guys have already seen it, which is one of the reasons probably why you won't hear now, because you want to hear exactly what I'm talking about. You want to know exactly what I'm talking about. Why did he say that? And on the flyer, I got courage to love. What's up, Mike? There go Mike Durham. What's going on? Long time childhood friend of mine, all the way from junior high school all the way up. It's good to see you. ATL Georgia, been a long time, my brother. It's been a long time. Thank God for you this evening. Thank God for you this evening. The flyer that I put up courage, the courage to love, the courage to love. Yeah, because that's what it takes. I remember having this conversation. We were, and again, I want to acknowledge my beautiful wife. I want to thank God for her, and for her being my life. You know, I wanted to say life partner, but I even feel funny about that, for being my wife. You know what I'm saying? But I want to thank God for my wife. I want to thank God for what God is building, and yet building, and doing in us, and proving to us, and the way that we're growing as a couple, growing as individuals, because that's how it's important. It's important in the marriage to still grow as individuals, but also grow together. You have to grow as individuals, but you also have to grow together. And I thank God for the way that God has been so instrumental in the way that he has been grooming my wife and myself. You know what I'm saying? You have to have the right one. And no matter, you have to have a committed mind. But I don't want to jump ahead of myself. And you know, I can talk about me and my wife all night, but I'm gonna try as less as possible to talk about our good thing, not just mine, but it's our good thing. But I was having my wife and myself, we were out. I think we were just having lunch, and we seen some guys put up on a motorcycle, right? And they were older gentlemen. That put up on a motorcycle. We began to talk to them, and ask them, you know, about themselves. And I particularly remember the one gentleman where I asked him, was he married? And he was like, oh no, you know. And it was almost like, he said it to the point like it was almost, Samuel, what's going on? Sam, what's going on, my brother? He said it to the point where like it was almost offensive. Like, no, I ain't married. You know what I'm saying? He was like, no, I ain't, no, um, and I begin to see this more and more, begin to see that these types of responses, right? These types of reactions to relationship, you know, as if I will never do that again. That's kind of what gave me, that's just what prompted it, and that's what kind of prompted and gave me the idea for even the talk that I want to talk about tonight, the courage to love. And I think what happens, especially, and I want you to tag some men in here. Tag men in here. Some brothers, I need you to, and especially some single brothers, because I want to talk to y'all tonight. Yeah. Now, because some men, there's some questions, because that guy, the way that he reacted, he let me know in so many words that he would never ever do it again. Now, the thing about somebody reacting like that, you never know why he reacted like that. All I know is I'm seeing it all too often that men want to wait a long time either to get married, or they don't want to get married at all. They either want to, and then the ones that want to do it. It's almost like it's strict. I want to be married. I don't want to be married. I'll never do it again. And it's like I keep seeing these categories of men. And I was just in thought and in meditation, right? And just thinking about the subject of relationship. As you guys always know, I look at all the relationship shows because I like to see people naturally react to stuff, right? I like to see them naturally react to questions that I ask, things that happen, because when a natural response is the best response. And so some of you men tonight, I'm going to be looking for you. If you're one that say you will get married, I want to know. I want you to put it in the comment section. You one that I want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'll never do it. I want you guys to have that conversation with me tonight. But the reason why the reason why I came with the subject matter of the courage to love, because I really believe that a lot of this is about courage, right? When I think about the scripture, I think about it, and I wanted to go, and it is Ephesians, right? It's Ephesians 5th chapter, the 22nd verse, right? And it just really, it says, now before you super strong women log off or don't contact, let me make the whole statement first, because for some women and for some men, the scripture can be taken wrong because it's really not broken down for you can understand it. But it says 5:22, it says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands and as unto the Lord. And then it says in the 23rd verse, check this out. It says, and husbands, and for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. Therefore, the church is subject to the Christ. And so let the wives be to their own husband. 25th verse is the one that I want to key in on. Key in on. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also have loved the church and given himself for it. What got me, and my wife and I had conversations about this, and I kind of listened to what people say, that God only commanded the man to love. He didn't command, he asked the wife he says to the woman to submit, but he says to the man, he commanded the man. And I think what goes on with men is that this exact paradigm is that they don't want to really commit because of stuff that have happened, and they have gotten lost in it and no longer really know what holy matrimony means. Now get it, hold on before you click off on me. This is not all about marriage. It's about love. Right? Because the problem is a lot of men don't have the courage. What do you mean? Something happened. And this is so unfortunate for so many women that come in contact with somebody and they really feel like this may be the one, but they didn't ask the right questions. Yes, they found out he truly cared about them. He truly wanted to be in her space, but she really didn't have a chance to find out whether this person can really love again. Because it's not a person can easily commit when they've made the decision that I can't do that again, right? Because some of the things that I see the most, and I was just talking to this other man, I was just recently talking to this other brother, and he was trying to get with this person, and he was trying to make up, and he was trying to get this right. And one thing he said at his mouth, he says, man, I don't want to get rejected again. And men, the reason why I say courage to love is because that's what it takes. Now you'll probably get like, well, no, it really don't take courage. No, it takes courage, because you have to make a decision. Watch this. You have to make a decision that I'm getting ready to walk into something, and I'm getting ready to give myself fully to it, not knowing what's getting ready to happen to me. Because the reason, and another reason why I call it courage, and I want this to sober some of you men up. Now, I'm not talking to players tonight. I'm not talking to players. I'm not talking to to men that want to play around. I'm not talking to men. I'm talking to some men that you done had your fiance in the clutch for 3-4 years. You got her in the clutch. You've been telling her, but you got her in the clutch and she really don't know why she's in the clutch, right? And she doesn't know that some of this stuff go back with men 5th grade. I done heard it. 7th grade. I heard one guy said he was in love with this girl in the 6th grade, and he gave her everything, and he bought stuff for her, and he did it, and she broke his heart. And he said after that, he was gonna make sure that no other woman breaks his heart in the future in his life. He says this, and these were his words. He was like, "You want to know why I'm a dog? Because of what happened to me in the 6th grade." Incredible. Incredible. And while it might be incredible, it is true. Some man, and I say courage, and I'm going to keep saying it, you got your heart broke. And when you got your heart broke, you decided not necessarily that you're going to be a player, but you ain't going to give yourself to anybody. It takes courage because you not only got to give your heart, but you got to give your soul. Yes, you do. When you're talking about coming together with one person, you're talking about coming together and the two becoming one, meaning that the two have to become compatible. Now, you got 2 different mindsets, 2 different frames, and you've been hurt. And all you can think about is who last hurt you. Now, don't let it be no infidelity that happened to a man. Lord have mercy. Don't let it. Now, we're in the days when it ain't no telling what type of infidelity might happen to you. And so you leave those things, or you leave that hurt, or so-called call yourself leaving that hurt, but you never make up in your mind again. You say, you know what? I ain't doing it no more. Ain't nothing but a few of y'all being real with me right now. And I ain't even got to y'all husbands yet. But I'm not doing it no more. I gave her all. I gave her this. I gave her that. What about maybe she was the wrong one? Have you ever considered in the way that you walk now as a man, right? Because it's really now, don't you get mad with me, but it's really kind of cowardly. Because you're saying that I don't have the courage. And for some now, and I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking to some of you brothers that know without a shadow of a doubt that, you know what? She's really proven all of that. But you're still stuck on who hurt you. So you don't have the courage, and you won't even give anybody a chance. And so even in some cases, God sending the right one. Jamal says I'm talking to him. And even in God sending the right one, you don't want to accept it. Why? Because I don't know. Now, it is a fact of a matter. It is a fact of a matter that when things have happened to you, or you have been done wrong, that thing will stay in your psyche. It's going to play in your psyche, and it ain't going to go nowhere. And even when you find the right one, it's still going to be in your psyche, but it takes courage to look ahead and to grab somebody and say that I'm going to walk through this regardless. Now, and it takes more courage to say that, you know what, we're going to have some disagreements, because some men don't even want to go. I don't want to go through none of that. But you lonely though. But the life that you're living is not really satisfactory to you. And the things that you've been trying to do to fulfill it is not filling it. And so you're living this lifestyle, and you don't have courage to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it again. And listen, I see it all the time. I see it. These men are just not bachelors, right? A lot of these men are hurt. And the right question needs to be asked. Who hurt you? What did they do? How did you feel? Are you able to get over it? Because they won't say it, right? And because they won't say it, they just stay in this mode of going from woman to woman to woman. Now, I'm not saying women don't do this, but this ain't their segment of the message. I'm talking to men because there is something that has to happen in the community of men. Something has to begin to register of who you are, who you've called to be, and the reason why God even made you a man. Because because in it, he had an assignment in there for you. Yes, and a lot of cases that marriage is a part of that assignment, because what comes from marriage is community, lives and community, and things begin to be built and things happen because you connect with the right person. It's purpose. He tells the man to love the wife as Christ loved the church and gave his life to it. He tells the woman to submit. Now, he ain't telling her to submit to no anything. Now, a lot of you men get it wrong because you look at when you see that submit and the woman ain't even your wife yet. That's one thing you got to deal with. That's that part of pride, and that part of not understanding your placement or your position as a man at that time. You got to understand that that's not something that she has to do. Because first, submit doesn't mean what you think. It don't mean to just go up on and do what you say. It means that you show them something that they can follow and feel safe in. I'm gonna say it again. You show them something that they can follow and feel safe in. I can feel safe with this person. And at the same time, a lot of us men, and it's the truth, a lot of us are just as emotional as some of these women. And sometimes what you need to say is, am I safe with you? But it takes courage to love. Because, okay, you got it all together. You got this together. You got that together. You got this together, because I see it all the time. Well, I don't need nobody. Everybody needs somebody. You weren't made complete by yourself. The question is can you even deal with somebody that really wants a relationship? Or will you keep the same path of dealing with the same type people? It's going to take courage, and you got to realize, you got to say, you have to admit to yourself, if you don't admit anything to yourself, that, you know what, Apostle, man, I have been kind of cowardly about this. This is the reason why I pass through, and this is the reason why I pass up so many relationships. This is the reason why, even if somebody does, and the thing about it is, when somebody does present themselves and they are actually whole, it scares the hell out of you, because then you can't go to them the same way that you go to everybody else. So what do you do when you see a whole person? Run. That's what you do. Because when you meet other people and they're not whole, it kind of just feels time in. But when you meet that one that's whole, you run. Why? Man, you ain't got courage to do it again. Because whoever got you still got you. And a lot of men don't admit this. No, this ain't a conversation that men have. Men don't admit this. They won't say it. So a lot of women will meet a man and they're like, man, I met this guy and he was wonderful and this was that, and we had such a marvelous time, and then they get ghosted. And they're wondering why did this person ghost me? Because he doesn't have courage to love. And if he felt something, he may run for real. If he felt anything, he may run for real, because your affection and the moments and everything that you had together called him to the carpet and made him either say, am I finna do this or not? And in a lot of cases, they don't want to do it because I'm still hurt. I'm still hurt from 6th grade. I'm still hurt from 8th grade. I'm still hurt from now. Let me deal with married men. And some of you married men, you're doing your wife a disservice, right? Because she still can't get all of you because somebody still got half of you. Oh, you got married. You got married, but you're hard. You're hard. You're rigid. You do what's necessary. There's she can still tell that there's a part of your heart that you have not given because you're still hooked up onto what was. And somebody in your high school or early 20s or whatever got you and messed you over, and you did everything and you moved on and you married somebody else. But when you married somebody else, you were still so angry about what happened to you earlier in your life till you didn't, the one that's with you, you still haven't given your full self to. You probably say, Apostle, yes, I did. All of me, 110%. 110%. I'm 110% vulnerable to my wife. And some of you can't say that. You can't say, you ain't gonna let yourself get vulnerable. I ain't finna let no another woman hurt me. And so because you got this state, you're wondering why things are not moving. When there's a stagnation, and I'm talking to married folk, when there's a stagnation in your marriage, it never will come to full blossom. When it comes to full blossom, everything begins to grow out of it. It doesn't mean everything gonna be perfect. It don't mean y'all gonna agree. As a matter of fact, y'all gonna disagree on a lot. But at least if you're giving full vulnerability, that means that she has your whole heart and she can give you hers. And growth can still happen. Growth can happen. But you know why a lot of marriages don't grow? There's not full vulnerability because somebody was hurt by somebody else, and whoever hurt them still has them. Now, they don't have them physically, right? But a soul tie is more than sexual. A soul tie is so much more than sexual. A soul tie is when somebody has pent themselves and they have a whole, they have a part or a piece of you. And even if that piece is just nothing but the trauma of being dropped by somebody. Mephibosheth, that when we think about the subject of Mephibosheth, that subject applies to so many things, and applies to some of you men that were dropped. And you said, you know what? I ain't doing it no more. And not only that you said you ain't gonna do it no more, but you made it a vow that you was gonna be a particular type of person. Somebody say, I want my divorce, Lord. Set me. Oh, good God Almighty. People are starting to come up online and they're speaking about it. And so there's a way for some of you married men. You got to stand up and say what it is. You have to admit, why do I have this? What is going on with me? And some of you, and you know what? For some of y'all, it's probably been so long that you'd have forgot why you like you are. So somebody could be standing up in you that you done totally forgot about, but they killed the part of you, and you can never love the way you need to love. So you don't even have the courage. Man, I ain't doing all of that. I'm not doing that. So even if you're challenged, you just gonna go into pride. Man, no, I ain't doing that. So again, it's the question, men, do you have the courage to love? I want to see some of you men coming up here now. Do you have the courage to love? And if you got it, put in there. Put some of those single, and some of you single men, I want to hear from you. Do you have the courage to do it again? Or watch this. I do it, but I'm gonna do it like I want to do it. I do it, but she may not like it. I ain't going for this and I ain't going for that. especially when there's been distrust. I see the most toxic men come out of something that was violated or when they had been violated. I see the most toxic men developed from something that happened to them where they felt violated and they promised themselves that they'll never do it again. Do you have? I see one man, he says, I do have the courage to love again. He says, yes, I have the courage to love. I just want to be loved back. Now, that is one of the most honest statements. But sadly, you can't go into something and have a mindset that it might not work, because if you do, you probably not going to give all of you. You say, I just want to be loved back. But how do they do that? Most relationships, you start out in phases. You start out most of the time in infatuation and first love, goosebumps, jitters, so in love. But the real love is not seen until it is tried. Real love is not seen in those first few months. Now you can say you love, and it's real love, but it has to be tested. You can go and buy a Mercedes straight off the lot, and it's a real Mercedes. But until you done drove in it, it's just something for the showroom. And love can be the same way for a lot of people. It's no good unless it's tested. And the person that put that up there now, and he said, I want to be loved. I want to be, I have the courage to love. I just want to be loved back. And unfortunately, yeah, you got to put yourself out there for that. Now, I would say this, I wouldn't tell a brother to do it haphazardly, but I am talking to brothers that, you know what you got, and you won't give it your all. You know what you give, and you still stuck on, and you done married somebody and still stuck on your last wife that done all of this stuff to you, and you done took this garbage over into the next relationship and wondering why ain't none of it working. It's not working because you're not healed yet, and you have not forgiven and forgotten. So that and because you haven't forgiven and forgotten, you can't truly give yourself to it. Can you be vulnerable? Can you be vulnerable? And most men, that ain't finna happen. If they felt anything or went through anything, it's not gonna happen. My wife said, I say be better the whole. Okay. She said, I say be a better whole so you can be a better half. That's what my wife says. My wife says, be a better whole so you can be a better half. Yeah. And that means that, yes, brother, you might need to go to therapy. Man, I just heard about this guy. Right? He's 50 something years old, and he's broken up another relationship and trying to move somewhere and trying to start over and reinvent himself by tearing up somebody. But he done tore up this another woman's life. But he done tore up one life, but now he's gonna reinvent himself and go somewhere else. Let me tell y'all brothers something. As a man soweth, that shall he reap. The reason why my wife calls me rare, I don't think that I'm all that rare. I just think I'm scared of God, and that my love is whole. My love is not half. You can't just get a piece of me. I've given my wife all of me. And she said, well, you're rare. No, I believe that as a man soweth, that shall he reap. If I give you all of my love, I expect it back. That's exactly what I got. So you can't go into something and you're not vulnerable. Now, for me to do that, I still had to take a chance. Now listen, trauma did I experience trauma coming from my yes. But I trusted in, first of all, I trusted God, and I trusted my wife. I trusted what I saw, but I said, I'm gonna give it all. You can't go into something and you say, well, now I'm gonna just give a piece of myself. I'm gonna just try it out. You know what happened to a lot of you folk that just want to try something out? You end up always being disappointed. You know why you end up being disappointed? Because you going in it just to try it out. If any man or woman can sense that you're just trying something out, then they're not finna give you their self. They're not finna give you everything in them either. Because you just trying them out. And we're in this society now, we're in this place now that's what people do. They try one another out, and then they wonder why no relationships work. Well, they ain't working because you're trying them out. So you never really went into it with the mindset that, this is going to work. There's something about um, when I started dating, and I have to be an example. If you're going to do something, be consistent, because you could be running into somebody that has had a lot happen. And so if you're consistent and you keep showing that, you make them feel safe. I'm going to say it again. A person has to feel safe. A man has to feel safe, and a woman has to feel safe. It don't matter. It don't matter how us men look to you women. That man gotta feel safe. He gotta feel safe. And if he doesn't feel safe, and he feels like this thing may not work out, or it's really not seen, he's not gonna give it his all. And so now, for some of you men that will get this, I want you to ask yourself, am I being cowardly in the way that I handle my relationships? Am I being cowardly? Am I ready to run? Because some of you have to admit you stay ready to run. You stay ready to run. Soon as a argument happen, that you gone. I'm gone. And you keep wondering why God is not bringing the right woman, are not bringing the right man, and he's not doing it because you are not in the place, and you're not whole yet, and you don't have the courage to love. You don't have the courage to love. I will say to some of you before I get off of here, I want to say to you men, I want to say to you single men, think about your future. Think about, if you have been hurt, think about dealing with that. Not dealing with it going to drink, or if you don't do any of that, just overly dating and just staying active, but not really being serious about anybody. I would say pull back, have that conversation with somebody, have that conversation with other men or a therapist. But most of all, s- come to a place to really accept that, you know what, man, I don't know if I can trust that again. I don't know. But if you come to a place where you say, I'm a little afraid to do it, but I want to do it, then that's a start. Having that courage to say, you know what, I'm gonna be courageous enough to be vulnerable again. I'm gonna be courageous enough to love again, and to love somebody else again. I'm gonna be courageous enough to do it. I'm gonna do it. If you come to that place, that's not the place to just go jump into something, but it's the place to get in that mindset so you can get ready. Nobody wants to be hurt. I get it. Because a lot of you men are like, man, you know what? Shoot, these women just as much players as men. And you're right. You're right. But having the right mindset and knowing what you're looking for and having this adjusted will bring you into the right place, because there are still a lot of women out there that have been chosen by God and are waiting for you. But you have to have the mindset that, you know what, when that imperfect moment happens, when that awkwardness happens on the date, when something happens that because it's gonna happen, I don't know where the mentality comes from that something has to come together and everything has to be perfect. It has to be flowers, roses, lollipops, and all of that. You we're gonna do those things, but still moments come when the two personalities begin to be when the two personalities are in conflict about something, and the one is standing up and the other is standing up, and healing is not there because nobody knows how to bridge the gap together. Somebody has to be, somebody has to come down, somebody has to be mature, somebody have to want to talk about it in order for it to go on. If you keep going through relationship after relationship and you say, well, no, that ain't work. Well, you was just dating such and such. No, it ain't work. I mean, you just say, yeah, no, that ain't work. No, it didn't work. It won't work because you won't let it work. Or it won't work because you won't work it. It won't work because you won't work it. Because a lot of you men have found out it's not in no lips, hips, or fingertips. You done found that out. And so now you got to come to a place that if you really want something, you have to build something and it has to come from you first. That genuineness, that realness, that courage has to come from you first. It has to come from you first. Married men, if you have something, and in most cases you do, you have to now come to a place where you know what you say to yourself, I'm getting ready to be better. I'm going to be better for my wife. And for some of you that hear this and you realize when you heard me say, man, I'm still hard because of what happened to me back here. Fix it. Fix it. It takes courage. Anybody can be cowardly. Anybody can run through people. Anybody can do that. Both ways. Anybody can do that. But it takes courage to work with. It takes courage to find somebody to work with. And I'm not talking about immediate marriage. I'm talking about just relationship. I'm talking about coming into oneness and relationship with anybody. There's too many of you that you run relationship races. You run them like short bursts, short races. And you need to be thinking more marathon, water breaks, you know. You need to think pit stops. You need to think more marathon. But most of you, because of the sensitivity of your past, the temperament of the time, I want it to be just like this right now. Do you have the courage to love? I can't ask women that because the question ain't a question for most women. They ready. It's the men. Do you have the courage to love? And can you be sober enough to love one woman? Can you be sober enough? Can you get over those things so that you can experience what real love is for you? All right. Apostle Fred Gooden, God's man on deck. I need you. I need some of you men. It's time to stand up. First, you got to understand who you are. You got to understand what you've done. You got to understand how you've been hurt, but you can't take that hurt into your future. Something different has to change for you, right? Because God still has purpose and a plan for your life. All right? Married men, let's do better. Let's get better. Let's do better. Saturday morning, 10 a.m., Golden Corral in Concord for you that are in the Charlotte area. Come out and meet me, meet some of the men in the ministry. All right. All right, we're gonna be talking with you. God bless you.